All right, what's going on, family? This is Maccabees TV 2. We got our brother Ron Divine Prospect here. You know, we're here at the National Black Theater giving love, honor, respect to the Hebrew Israelite woman. So speak on that real quick, Divine. You know, how do you feel about this event?
I think the event so far, everything's great, man. We're doing a wonderful job. It's a pretty decent turnout that we have here. And this is monumental in the Hebrew Israelite community that we're catering to the women. And the messages that have been going for so forth, the women are receiving it, they're picking it up, they're getting energized by it, and it looks like everything that we just deposited out there, they're about to bring it right to their homes. And that's the objective that we want to do and convey over to our women, to let them know that they're integral to the success of our nation, just as the man and the child is.
Excellent, beautiful, beautiful, brother Divine. I was seeing a flyer circulating around the internet that says that you are part of a conference going on August 2nd, dealing with evolution. Yeah. So I want to ask you about evolution, brother Divine. Just a couple of quick questions, nothing too major. We're going to let you save all your ammunition, all your bullets for August 2nd, right? I have a question. Please define for the viewers which ancient society it is that taught about evolution. Did the ancient societies in Africa, anyone, you can pick whichever one you want, which one of those societies in Africa taught as a principle that we evolved from a common ancestor? Or maybe you could find one in Asia. Or maybe you could find an indigenous society in America.
I'm going through the mental Rolodex in my head, and I'm looking at these different nations, and there's none there. Me, personally, I study a lot of the Yoruba and Igbo, look into a lot of the Ifa systems, and they teach ancestral worship there. They believe in a supreme deity by the name of Alunumere, and the Orishas, which is the ancestors that have the qualities that they look in nature that is in alignment with nature. We go to the ancient Hebrew Israelites, and we see that none of them believed in developing by a force that is not guiding everything. If we look in the text itself, we know that the Most High created the cosmos. You know what I'm saying? We know that the Most High created man. He created the earth. He created these things. If we go into ancient Kemet, I'm looking at all of the cosmogonies and of the 42 nomes, and I don't know any of them that teaches the evolution that's being taught by Darwinianism, that's being promoted by a lot of people in our community. And I'm going to state the names. But I'm saying that because even looking at the different dynasties in China, I'm trying to think, none of them actually promote that. Think about the Macsans and Mayans, the Olmecs, Quetzalcoatl. I mean, none of them believe in this evolution thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think the problem is when we have people that talk about evolution, they don't define the word. And the word floats out there, right? And what they're trying to tell us that, oh no, we don't believe the same Eurocentric. But when you start looking at the information they start to present, then it's just like, well, this looks like Darwinianism or even the Orthodox stuff that's being taught in our schools. So my thing is that I'm going through the mental Rolodex in my mind, and I'm trying to categorize to see if any of these ancient civilizations ever taught it the way it's being taught today, and it's not there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that a big disservice is being done to the ancestors of these ancient civilizations by telling the viewers today in our community that, oh, this is what they really meant and this is what they really taught, but how come we can't find a reference for it in their own works and let them speak for themselves? So.
Right. So I want to ask one quick question. I'm going to have my brother Kwebesineth ask a question also. My last question to you is this, right? I think that there is a purposeful distortion of the definition of evolution that's being pushed in the conscious community. I'm going to tell you what I mean, right? When we speak about evolution, they try to tell us that we are crazy for not believing in evolution because they speak about the evolution of the mind. They also speak about the evolution of a baby that turns into a toddler, that will turn into an adolescent, that'll turn into an adult, that will eventually turn into an old person. I think by observation, which is what science really is, we all observe that type of evolution. So we don't dispute that type of evolution. But the argument is whether we come from a common ancestor with a primate. So what I'm saying to you is that August 2nd, will you keep these guys on track? Will you allow them to sidebar the debate into a discussion about evolution of the mind and psychology and things of that nature? Or are we going to stick to what they have said on record numerous times that we come from a common ancestor with primate? Speak on that real quick, Vaughn.
And I'm glad that you said that. Again, evolution is all around us. But when we're talking about from a scientific perspective, if they're talking about evolution in regards to a common ancestor, there's not enough transitive fossils, full complete fossils, to define that. So they have a big issue with that. Number two, not just the transitive forms, but also mutations. A mutation is one format of us coming into a new species, because mutation now is a defect when you lose genetic information. To To me, that sounds like something provided information, and then a situation occurred, and all of a sudden they don't need it. Now, that's like saying that we find somebody here today who has no arm and no leg, right? They just had one arm, one leg, and they die off. Let's say I die off right next to them, right? Or let's say I die off 10 years and they bury me in the same spot. 1,000 years pass, and they go and say, look, see, they evolved to have 2 arms. They evolved to have 2 legs. Does that make any sense? So what they're going to do is that instead of dealing with that specifically, they're going to say, well, evolution is all around us. We evolve in our thoughts. We evolve in technology. We evolve in the way that we go in the mother's womb and everything. And we dealt with that ego situation. But anyway, so what they're talking about is they're using that term very loosely because they are not trying to admit that they don't have the same system that the ancestors that they preach about hold up. And that's a big problem. So what I'm doing is I'm showing the fingerprints of intelligent design based on observable science. I'm not going to theories. I'm based on observable science. And now once we are demonstrating that model, we can say, hey, now that we know that there is a creator based on intelligent design, now based on what the ancestors thought, what they had was correct. They observed the heavens. They observed nature. And they said, you know what? An intelligent mind had to create this. And this is when I talk to them about abiogenesis and what they believe that chemicals, random chemicals, through quantum channeling, created all the other forms that we have right now in the periodic chart. Not just that helped to bring about life. So what I say to them is this. I say, hey, you know what? If you're saying that work, show me in nature. They can't show it. They said, well, I have to show you in the lab. And I said, you know what? If you can show me in the lab, all that tells me is that you need intelligent design in order to create something that has life. That's all that's showing. You understand what I'm saying? So on August 2nd, what we're going to hammer them down is we're going to try to get them to say, hey, do you really believe what your ancestors taught, or are you teaching your own science? That's what we're going to hold them to, because the fact that we accept the Creator is consistent with what it is that we teach and how we live and our worldview. Now, their worldview has to borrow from ours because now they got to deal with the moral factor. They got to deal with the consciousness of man. They got to deal with art. They got to deal with language. They got to deal with all these different mechanics, structures, and everything. Who gave us this information? That we just evolving in the soul? How come no other creature out of the millions of creatures on the planet are doing the same thing that human beings are doing?
Beautiful, divine. Last question from Brother Kwabesina. Go ahead, King.
My question for you is, not until recently, a big cloud of confusion has come over my mind. And here's the confusion. There seems to be 2 kinds of evolutionists on this panel. One is a theistic evolutionist that accepts a God, and the other one is a atheist evolutionist who doesn't accept God, but for some reason they're standing on the same stage holding hands together as if they're one and the same. And what makes that difficult is you can't tell which is which because they need a plausible deniability. When they get trapped, then they go, but we do believe in God. I never said I believe in God. So how do you know if that speaker truly believes in God, what kind of God? Because they start to name different haplogroup types of gods now. And in those haplogroup types of gods, it depends. So how do you tell when you're dealing with creation, evolution, atheists, evolution, theos? How do you, what's going on here? Can you break that down for us?
Well, I mean, in regards to the speakers on the panel, they're going to present the information. But I think what my brother Kwabesina is saying is that we have people who are theistic evolutionists who believe in some kind of supreme essence that created things and is using the format of evolution to bring things about. And we also have the atheistic one that believes there's no hand, creative mind involved or intelligence involved in the guidance of the evolution of life on this planet. Now, the thing is that because their objective is to attack people who have a particular cultural and spiritual disposition, they're going to say, you know what, hey, you know, we're not saying we don't believe in God, but what we're trying to tell you is that what you believe and your concept of God, there's no kind of science that backs that up. See, everything is good until it comes to them joining together to beat on somebody else who they think is weak. Now, we're definitely going to deal with that because what we want to show them is that you are distancing yourself from what the ancient ancestors taught. Now, what they'll tell you is that all these mystery systems, there's a lot of mystery systems, and you don't understand the mystery systems because the mystery systems were handed down, it was stolen by the Greeks, this is what's being taught. Now, the question is, if that's a mystery system, then that means that the ones who held the mystery were lying to the people. So why is that important? My question to them would be, show us all of these mystery system books that you have. Let us read it. Let's peer review it. Let's get somebody from the academic realm to evaluate it. They're not going to do that. So what they try to do is that you smoke and mirrors to disguise what their true stance is. This is why they can say, well, I'm theistic in the sense where I believe that there's a creative essence, or atheistic, no, there's no creative essence. Everything evolved on its own. On August 2nd, we're going to have to pull the magnifying glass on that to see exactly what are they teaching. Are you teaching exactly what the ancestors taught? And if you don't, and you say it came from these deep mystery priest systems, show it to us. Bring it there that day. Let us see it. Open up the scrolls and let us read it. Then we need to get an examiner to come in and look over this information to see what you're teaching is right and exact of what this text is saying. And that's the issue that I have with them. Not with those brothers personally, but what it is that they're teaching that I come into conflict with, because again, they try to think, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna end off on this. I just had a talk with Reggie and Imam. He was right on 125th Street with Sinetta. He had recorded that. And the interesting thing about that is that Sinetta kept asking skewed questions, right? Sineta's my man, though, but he kept asking skewed questions. Like, okay, well, let's get back to this Bible. Adam, I'm like, listen, this is what y'all don't understand. You think just because I'm a Hebrew, I don't read? You think because I'm a Hebrew, I don't examine anything else? I do. So if we're going to deal with science, I'm going to show you a model for creation. And once I present you this model creation, and you say, wow, you know what, there's some substance in it, then I show you the layers of the text where it lines up and correlates. So what they're trying to do is that they're trying to get me to stick in the book without showing the science first. And with the book before the science, I'm giving you the science, and then that's going to guide you into the book. And that's the method that they don't want, because now the audience there is going to have to consider some things and say, well, you know what, that's definitely a plausible case that maybe there is a creator. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm not there to relay anybody on the panel, but we're all going to hold them accountable to what they teach. And what I want them to show us is how everything that they're teaching is exactly the way the so-called African ancestors and ancestral cultural spiritual systems was teaching. They have to show that. We're not going to let them get away. Panel, one of y'all out there from the Hebrew community, hopefully y'all there. Make sure you're there August 2nd. Ask them these questions.
So what's the difference between the evolution theist and the creationist?
Okay. Well, the evolution theist, or the theistic evolution and a creationist. A theistic evolutionist is a creationist, but the difference is this. An theistic evolutionist believes that evolution evolved over long periods of time, but it was being guided by a divine force. That's a theistic evolutionist. A creationist can take that model, or they could be what's called a young earth creationist. A young earth creationist is somebody that believes that the earth was here about 6,000 to 10,000 years. Some may say 12,000, some might say no more than 20,000, because they use a lot of genealogies in the text to kind of date back the times to see when the earth was here, based on from Adam to what we got today. So what I'm saying is that those people who give me young earth creationists will say, you know what, the earth was only created in 6,000 to 10,000 years, no more than 12 or 24,000 or 20,000. And then the old earth creationists, or the theistic evolutionists, will say, you know what, the earth is here, it's been here for a while, but every process has been guided by the hand of the Most High. So now you have those two different camps that believed in this young earth, this old earth, but they both believe that a Most High was involved, but it's just the way that they present the information. So the ones who are young earth are really literal in regards to worldwide flood, things of that nature. The old earth believes that, you know what, certain changes did happen, but it occurred over a long period of time. But in the entire process, the hand of the Most High is involved, and in the creation of man, both of them agree that it was created by divine essence, and it did not involve from a 5 to 8 million year old monkey, or not monkey, excuse me, because they're going to get mad if you say monkeys, but a common ancestor, which we don't even have the fossil record of that common ancestor. For some reason, it branched off and created what we have today because of correlation and homogeneous structures. Because gorillas have 4 arms because they bipedal. All of a sudden, they're not even truly bipedal. All of a sudden now, oh, you know what? We must have had a common ancestor. There's too many assumptions, and it's not enough proof. And what I'm going to hold them to is observable science. Show us in nature where this thing is occurring. And one last thing is, if things been evolving for millions of years, then we should see some of these transitive things happening in nature today. Where they at? Oh, they're going to say it's finches. Did you know when they take those birds back into the same environment that they left, they turn right back into the same finches that they were before? Did y'all know that? Y'all probably didn't know that, right? So when you take it out of its environment, you have a gene pool. Out of your gene pool, you have genetic drift, and you have what's called gene flow. The difference between that genetic drift is, okay, cool. We have a situation where there's a populace here. Populace winds up on one island away from the main general populace, and because we're here, we have what's called limited alleles. An allele is the variation in the gene or genotype structure. So that means our genes are going to be limited here as opposed to this whole big populace in this one area. Now, why is that important? Because they'll say, well, you know what, those people there, after a period of time, let's say, for example, they start to get dark skin because the ones that left there had dark skin. Oh, wow, they evolved. Oh my God, they evolved. No, they didn't evolve. They had a gene pool, and that gene pool is a full spectrum to what that creature can evolve to in regards to its adaptation in nature. That's all that is. That's what's called microevolution, and that is observable.
Of course.
My thing is that we don't dispute. We don't dispute that. We see that all the time. The problem is that when you start to make inferences based on that observation, now it becomes a problem. And my brother Daniela had dealt with that at his lecture. Y'all need to go on YouTube. I don't know if the official video of Daniela.
Yeah, absolutely. They
Please
can go
watch
to
that, because that is preparation for what's about to transpire. He did a great job refuting a lot of the information. So I just wanted to come and plug this in, because I know this is very important. Israel needs to keep their eyes watching so we can hold everything they say accountable.
All right, Brother Devon, we appreciate you, man. Go back and enjoy the lecture, man. Shalom, man.
Shalom, King.
All right.